The modernization of Grant High School in Portland, Oregon, proves how bold spatial solutions can address legacies of disadvantage, prejudice, and oppression through engaged and empathetic design. By designing for all, Grant High School has realized a more physical, racial, socioeconomic, and gender-inclusive community in which students feel welcome, accepted, and connected. Built in the fast-growing community of Northeast Portland in 1923, by the 1950s and 60s, the courtyards had been filled with additions, turning the campus into a maze of outdoor passages. Once a stately building, the school had fallen into disrepair, suffering from 50 years of deferred maintenance. Yet the historic buildings were beloved by members of the community, many of whom had roamed the halls over multiple generations. The team kicked off an intensive 4 years of design in the fall of 2015, beginning with a collaborative public engagement process, which consistently drew community participation and was followed by in-depth stakeholder engagement, user group meetings, and student outreach sessions. With such a strong and active community presence, this process brought alignment on divergent issues, consensus where there was none, and creatively resolved the challenges posed. Originally built on a tight 10-acre site, the design approach was to reuse the original 1920 structures while removing the buildings that had infilled the site over time, preserving the cultural significance of the original buildings. The design addresses the challenges associated with the original double-loaded corridor, built for an industrialized and outmoded model of education. The narrow width limited the ability to adapt the structure to progressive and collaborative modes of learning. By removing the west facade and adding a 30-foot wide addition, a central flexible zone was created. What was once a double-loaded corridor has become a dynamic learning community, offering diverse environments throughout the widened floor plate to support social learning. Solid hallways with minimal transparency contributed to an environment with no sense of connectivity and little connection to the outdoors. In response, visually transparent yet acoustically separated forums were created at both ends of the school, offering a different type of flexible learning space that is available for use by students, staff, or the community. It was discovered early in the engagement process that Grant was home to more than a dozen openly transgender students. The design team was asked to address the bias of the male and female segregated bathrooms. The approach was to replace existing gendered bathrooms with non-gendered individual toilet rooms. Full walls and doors open to a shared space with wash basins and drinking fountains. As a pass-through space with multiple ways in and out, the design limits entrapment and allows passive supervision. The design intentionally rejects a legacy of spatial oppression. The once disjointed interconnectivity between floors has been replaced with a 3-story open central stair. Upon entering the school, students immediately see the grand stair, with views of the makerspace below, the auditorium ahead, and student leadership above. The original cafeteria was in the basement, forcing students accessing free and reduced lunch into social isolation during the lunch period, an unwanted legacy of social inequity. Now, 2 new commons provide a choice for students, with both levels connecting to an exterior dining space. The design has successfully brought students of all socioeconomic means back to the heart of campus, to eat and socialize together, with those receiving free or reduced lunch now undetectable. When Grant High School reopened in the fall of 2019, it drew an unprecedented crowd of over 2,500 community members to its grand opening celebration. Now a revitalized, equitable home for learning, Grant's modernization demonstrates that restoratively addressing hidden bias will empower students to build inclusive communities, uplifting the next generation. Grant's enrollment continues to increase dramatically. Students are transferring in from private schools, and the graduation rate has risen to 94%. The Grant High School modernization highlights how the reuse of a nearly century-old structure can result in an effective modern learning environment that is not compromised, but instead enriched by its historic character. A beloved, iconic, historic school, the modernization has propelled Grant High School into the future while embracing and honoring its past.